Mr. Speaker, I would have been completely surprised if I was not asked the question of education.
Yes, Junet. Okay.
Let me add something.
We can go on and ask your question.
Oh, okay.
Take those two.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the nominee 2 questions. The first one, Mr. Speaker, just to add to what the majority leaders asked, this issue of the education background. Mr. Speaker, I think the nominee needs to, he has alluded to that now he's in the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. We want to ask him to clear this matter, because this matter, it comes up during elections and goes down after elections. It comes up during elections, goes away after elections, you win the election. We want to slay that ghost today here. Can you share with us from the beginning to the end how it went? And my second question is that where I come from, Lake Victoria is next to it. What do you think what will you do as the Minister for Maritime to improve the lives of the people there in terms of fish industry? The fishing industry is almost collapsing. What programs do you think you will put in place to make sure that livelihoods are supported there by the people who are doing the fishing business or fishing in the Lake Victoria area?
Chair, maybe since he had begun answering that one on academic credentials, besides what you would say CS nominee to young Kenyans, and from what Junet is saying, it's clear that many people who serve in public office suffer certain prejudices from Kenyans regarding the academic credentials and all that in your past. Probably you can contextualize that in that. I am certain there are many Kenyans who are surprised that you can even converse in English. There are many who are asking how you would be able to be vetted.
I understand.
You cannot converse in English.
I understand, Mr. Speaker, and I must first of all say it is almost normal for people to cast doubt of Wapwanis. Sometimes, and Owen Bai and Mishi Boko probably will bear me witness. But we can and we are as qualified as any other Kenyan. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to walk you through my educational journey and where I drew my inspiration.
More than what you did?
No. To respond to the question, okay. I want to walk you through how I achieved what I achieved, and I'll continue to achieve.
With brevity.
Without a doubt. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to mention that I drew my inspiration from one Professor Ali Mazrui. Professor Ali Mazrui did not succeed in his Cambridge examination to be admitted in the university to attain his first degree. That aside, Mr. Speaker, I want to mention to this House.
Ali Mazrui is one of the most renowned
scholar
and admirable scholars.
We love him. He's one of our own from the
coastal region. He's not just the coastals. I love him even more. I named one of my
you must.
I named one of my brothers Mazrui.
Mr. Speaker, there is absolutely no way you cannot love Ali Mazrui, given his contribution to basically the general well-being of our society. But Mr. Speaker, this is the point. I want Kenyans to know that historical struggles are real. Are real. Someone should never imagine for a minute that if they come from places or spaces of comfort, that there may be a level playing field for everyone. Some of us come from very poor background. Mr. Speaker, if you look at my CV, you will see I actually had to take a break for 1 year, transiting from primary into secondary. Why did I do that? Because simply my parents couldn't afford school fees. I was not living in an environment that allowed me that opportunity to be able to quickly prosper in matters of education. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I can tell this committee today, and I want many Kenyans to listen to me. Do not ever imagine your hope dies by your previous struggles. We suffered. But what gives me pride is that we could turn that around. I actually turned it around. When I found the slightest opportunity for self-improvement, which I believe is a continual process, I grabbed it. And I'm glad to the laws of the country, laws of the land, there are processes that allows someone to improve and progress in matters of education. So yes, I did not do well in my secondary school. I got a D-, no doubt. But Mr. Speaker, I turned that around. Today, as I sit here, I hold 2 degrees that are before you. Mr. Speaker, I am on my pathway to attain a master's degree from the most prestigious university in the world. And that is achieved by determination. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell Junet, Honorable Junet, that first let me begin by telling Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Kimani Ichung'wah, I contributed to my own school fees in secondary school. I had an understanding at that time with my principal that he released me earlier than any other student because I needed to go work. And I did. And I contributed. At that point, what was my priority? To conclude KCSE. And I knew deep in my mind that I will always in my life have a chance to further pursue and acquire more knowledge. And like I said, I would have been very surprised if this question did not come up, because it comes up every time there's an opportunity for me to do something. Every time. It started when I was running for MP. It started when I was running for MP in 2007. Big conversation. And that time they even actually said that my nursery certification was fake, my kindergarten. But we succeeded. When I was running for governor, Mr. Speaker, and I'm saying this so that we can, I hope we can bring this to a permanent closure. When I was running for governor in 2013, it also became one of the biggest campaign issues. I know there were even attempts to bribe some people in the institutions that I was with. Somebody once told me, someone came to me and told me, Bana, we've been told to suspend your degree, to purport we're undertaking some investigation, just to not to allow me to meet the required timelines to submit my papers. But we overcame that and moved on. Then, Mr. Speaker, you also will remember, because it is a matter of public knowledge, the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta, particularly the first term, had quite some issues with me. So again, there were those who felt that they may have an opportunity now to permanently remove me from the political equation by dealing with my education credentials. So, Mr. Speaker, I report before this House, there is no government institution, be it Higher Learning Commission, DCI, EACC, even a judicial process, that has not investigated my credentials. And I commit before this House. In fact, they should be looking at this space. Probably if we succeed, if you nominate me, and we do well, the next, if I'm approved, the next vetting, you should see a PhD, Mr. Speaker. I'm telling you, watch this space. If I come back here, if God wills, you approve me, we do some real work, better the lives of the Kenyan people, you'll call me Dr. Hassan at Joho, the next one, sir. Mr. Speaker, on the other matters.
Hold that. What was the outcome of the judicial challenge on your papers?
Mr. Speaker, they lost. And I actually know who sponsored the process, but they lost. You cannot take what is rightfully mine. It's as simple as that.
Go on and answer the other questions.
So they lost. And I know, unfortunately, there's an old man there in Mombasa, an 82 old man, who keeps sponsoring people to pursue the, and I'm sure probably...
Focus on your suitability.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
I want to answer the question by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah on the blue economy. And I want to combine it with maritime affairs. And I like the fact that you particularly picked on the job opportunities. Mr. Speaker, this ministry is a wealth creation ministry. This ministry is a great employment creation ministry. Now, just to give you some statistics, today, the global demand on seafarers is almost at 1.9 million. We in Kenya are contributing barely 0.2%. So out of, basically what I'm saying is out of the 1.9 million, we have just about 4,000 Kenyans that are getting into the industry by way of employment. Now, what are we going to do to change that? Number one, we must redesign our training program to fit into the demand of that opportunity. And I know there's quite some work that was done previously and continues to be done, but we may need to have a conversation. And if approved, I'm going to be running back quickly to this august house to engage honorable members on realigning the policies around training to be able to fit the demands. And I pick particular example. If you train someone to board a vessel, how you earn or how you get opportunity to be employed is almost similar to that of a pilot. So even as we see today, we have probably a good standard of training issued or undertaken at the Bandari Maritime Academy. But Mr. Speaker, everybody that graduates from Bandari Academy does not automatically qualify to get a job because they don't have something called sea time. They don't have sea time. They have no avenues to get sea time. So that for me is a matter of urgent intervention to ensure we combine our training with sea time, even if it's just basic. Nobody will employ you if you have never been on board a sea. So that is one area of policy realignment that I'm going to have to engage this Honorable House. The other important area, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the statistics today, countries like Liberia are carrying 100 or plus more folds of their flag in vessels. We in Kenya, we're just about 5. From what I've heard from private sector, I've engaged the shipping industry, and I have been told, Mr. Speaker, the vessels that are carrying our flag are just about 5. What this therefore means is that our young people cannot get an opportunity because there is no level playing field. What do we need to do? To look at the policies. What is Liberia doing that is right that we can't do? What is it? Because we have so many vessels calling into our ships. What a local flag means, Your Excellency, is that the revenues generated, first of all, from the vessel will land in Kenya. Priority in terms of job opportunities will be for Kenyans. And opportunities to even design some internship program for attaining sea time. It is easier to take to Kenyan companies, and I'm going to do that. I think, Mr. Speaker, and I'm clear about it. Let me say I'm clear about it. if you approve my nomination, I will hit the ground running. It certainly shall not be business as usual. It will not, because I see. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, so that I give you the context on how and why it is urgent that we quickly realign policies that conform to the needs. It is because seafarer, by all standards, qualifies to be a prestigious job. There's no seafarer, at whatever cadre, there's nobody who earns less than $1,000. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll quickly run. The other question is on the fishing folk. And Mr. Junet, Honorable Junet, talked particularly on the lake areas. And I'm imagining he's looked at the demography well, because I was just looking at some statistics. And I looked lake areas from Muhuru Bay, you pass Siaya into Soiport, Sioport in Busia. And the numbers that are produced, nothing justifies that our neighboring countries are processing more. Understood that they may have a lot of, the area might be wider, but they're processing 100-folds more, particularly for export. What do we need to do? And I've seen this problem, for example, in the fisher folk and artisan fishermen in the coastal region, from Kiunga to Lungalunga. And government has put some effort. Let me just acknowledge. Government so far has given boats and some storage facility. And they're building landing sites that are some complete and some yet to be complete. But that alone doesn't solve the issue. There is the issue of capacity building. These fisher folks, these artisan fishermen and women should be trained. Should be trained in how many fronts? One, processing. Basic business skills. Basic business skills. Storage and value addition. Mr. Speaker, growing up in Mombasa, I used to see a company that used to be called Wananchi Marine. That company was employing on a daily basis not less than 3,000 women to do fish processing. But as we sit here today, Mr. Speaker, there is no single factory that I can directly point at that does the same. And it's going to be my business. Number one, to create a lucrative environment for investment. You have to combine private sector investment, government support, and people's participation. And idea number one is, for example, if we want to help the fisher folks and fishermen generally, we must develop strategy like creating collection points. And I tell you, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, why I say that, because one boat goes out, comes with possibly 20 kilos, and they are likely to be possibly around maybe 100 boats of such capacity. But everyone who comes don't call in into the same landing site. What do? They find means to buy ice blocks and store. But imagine if we put them in a cooperative, manage them and organize them, train them. You arrange collection points. Why we don't export our fish very well is because we don't consolidate it. We don't consolidate our catch. So for me, I should have a truck picking from Kiunga into Owen Bay's constituency, Owen Bay's into Mombasa, into Kwale and Shimoni. Consolidate it so we bring adequate catch that will qualify for even export market. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ichung'wah talked about on restoration programs of quarries. There is a law in place, but it's not enforced. What do I think needs to be done? Number one, we must create synergies with county governments. Why do I say so? They are beneficiary of the royalties. We must train and encourage the Kenyan people to abide to the required environmental standards. Number 3, we must work on our enforcement, and this will require a multi-sectoral approach that I'm probably going to initiate. And maybe on the policy issue is that we may consider requiring or requesting when you are licensed to mine, so that we are assured you will actually work on restoration, create a bond, a surety bond, whether by way of bank guarantee or whatever formula that works, so that you deposit it in government, a similar amount or an estimated amount. So if you don't restore the site that you've mined our geological wealth from, we have bonded you. So you just don't walk scot-free. Mr. Speaker,